Good evening, fellas. Jimmy here in Chicago. And I want to start sharing with you some of my courtroom stories when I was a court buff, going back to the early 1990s through the mid 2000s. My very first trial, going back to 1992, I'll never forget it. When I walked into that courtroom, there were like two tables with maybe 15, 18 men all sitting around in suits. I had no idea who the hell was who. But one of the players I realized was Gus Alex. You could see Gussie as an older gentleman walking in the lobby of the Dirksen Federal Building, not very happy. Gussie underestimated the prosecution's case, and he thought there's no jury that would ever believe a low-life rat snitch like Lenny Patrick. But the government had a strong case. They were able to convince a jury that Gussie received kickbacks from a very violent extortion crew. Men like Lenny Patrick, Mario Ranone, James Lavelli, Nick Gio. These guys were walking into car dealerships and restaurants demanding large amounts of cash and threatening violence. So we're going to go into more detail on the Gus Alex trial. That'll probably be the very first one I'll start with. Also in the early 90s to the mid 90s, I went to the Sam Carlisi trial. Imagine sitting 10 feet away from Sam Carlisi. It was Sam Carlisi, Little Jimmy, Tony Zizzo, Bonavolantes, and The Hatch, and a few other guys I'm forgetting. The judge had to reprimand The Hatch several times in court. Even Joe Lopez, the shark, could not control Anthony Chiaramonte. Later on in the 90s, I went to the Larry Hoover trial. Hoover was locked up in Vienna, a minimum security prison. He was operating one of the largest gangs in the country, the Black Gangster Disciples, 30,000 soldiers, $100 million a year drug operation. Prosecutors said in opening statements they made more money than U.S. Steel. The government put an ultra-thin transmitter into the visitor's pass. So when his high-ranking sergeants and lieutenants would come visit him in prison, men like Shorty G, Gregory Shell, the government picked up thousands and thousands of coded conversations. We're going to talk about all these trials in more detail. But the legendary trial, the biggest trial ever, there will never be a trial like this, was the Family Secrets trial. 14 unsolved murders dating back to the 1970s. You had a son testifying against his own father, a brother testifying against his own brother, hence the term family secrets. But the thing I found most interesting at the Family Secrets trial, and this never happens, especially in mob cases, do the defendants take the stand in their own defense? In this trial, at the Family Secrets trial, 3 of the defendants took the stand in their own defense. 2 of them were mob bosses. So we're going to talk much more about the Family Secrets trial. I want to get your thoughts on Nick Calabrese and some of the witnesses to see if you found them credible. Most of these government witnesses, they have so much detail where most of them are credible. However, none of them are Boy Scouts. A lot of them are killers. And several of them do lie on the stand. But that's a different story. And also Large. I went to the Large trial. It showed the outfit's connection between the Chicago outfit and the outlaw motorcycle gang, which I thought was pretty interesting. But Large got a raw deal. This man does not belong in prison. They should definitely release him. All the evidence in the trial was against Mark Polkman, Sammy and his son, Anthony Volpendenzo, Mark Hale, and a couple other guys. The Polish guy in Large had minimum evidence against them. But there was a bombing at this trial. As we all know, the government does not fuck around. If there's explosive fuse, that's automatic 25, 30 years. But we'll talk about the Mike Sarno trial. He was out on bond during that trial, unlike all these other defendants that were in custody. But these are just some of the trials that I've went to. I probably went to over 25 of them. So I hope you enjoy my stories. If you do, hit the like button, comment. Appreciate it, man. And for my haters out there, if you don't like it, you've got many other options, many other channels to watch. Walk the dog. Take your wife shopping to Walmart. Go to Walmart, okay? Take care, guys. Be safe.